On January 17th, 2025, the Federal Trade Commission posted a press release on its website saying that due to their referral, the Department of Justice of the United States had gone after Genshin Impact's developer. The lawsuit title...
Honestly, for me, I think this is okay. Like, kids should not be fucking... Yeah, kids should not be spending any money on this fucking shit. Like, even at 16, I'm just like, man, they're gonna get fucking hooked, dude. just, do you see the fucking gacha players? Oh yeah, they fucking throw money at this shit like no other. They're fucking hooked. They're all gamblers. I mean, they may not gamble on like real life gambling, but they throw their money at like some of the stupidest shit ever. Right? They throw their money at fucking Pokemon cards, comic books, right? All these things that have the artistic value on it. I'm sorry to say, but it only gets that value because people think that way. For me, I'm just like, yeah, sorry, I don't. It's a piece of paper that can be burned real fucking easily.
It's developer.
Then again, your fiat, right? Your fiat money is paper already, so might as well spend it on more paper, I guess, right?
The lawsuit title is crazy in itself. The United States
versus... Also, spending it on gacha games and like real money transaction stuff from these video games. That shit's gonna go gone. Like, right? Once they stop services, all that money you spent, poof.
Versus Cognosphere, the parent company of Genshin Impact. I never thought I'd see that sentence in my life.
Up in flames, just like the California fires.
Genshin Impact has deceived children, teens, and other players into spending hundreds of dollars on prizes they stood little chance of winning, as well as having a blatant disrespect towards children's private...
I think even in EU, I think they already set up a loot box rule where they banned... Or they did something similar.
Rights, and that's barely scraping the surface, guys. Look, this came out of nowhere. It caught everyone by surprise. But it turns out that the FTC has been working on this investigation for years now, as early as 2022. What was even more shocking to many is that instead of countersuing, Genshin Impact's developer didn't. They ended up settling, paying over $20 million and having to change multiple...
Well, I mean, you have to settle, dude. The fact that it's been marketed as teens, right? You already had people, but right? You don't know what kind of age, right? They already have that kind of age group, so you already had a bunch of these people paying and buying these loot boxes, right? Card pool or not card, character pools or weapon pools, right? You already had tons of people. Just ask, what's his face? There's a lot of content creators that just look at fucking the gacha space for content creators on Twitch and YouTube. Who's a big one and most controversial right now? Oh yeah, Tectone. Very controversial right now because of all the bullshit that's going on. But yeah, take him for example. Dude spent so much money on these fucking games. It's goddamn insane. Like, people piss away money like it's nothing.
Additionally, every single news outlet at this point has talked about this, okay? This game is such a phenomenon that, yes, whenever something like this happens...
I mean, just look at the esports space. They fucking piss away like nothing, even though they know that they're not making anything.
Like how some characters are mentioned by name, or how
it's such a niche thing.
Makes a fucking appearance. The community reaction, though, resulted in an implosion of people completely fighting each other on different opinions. The impact that this lawsuit has had has already been huge, but it stands to be even bigger in the future, so we have to talk about it. Let's do this. If you weren't born yesterday and have played video games for like the last 10 years at least, you know the term microtransactions and loot boxes. You couldn't have avoided them, even if you wanted to.
Microtransactions, RMTing, all that shit, fucking annoying in video games. Real fucking annoying.
Website. There's a lot of controversy
But, I
surrounding
mean, what
these
can you
game
do?
mechanics
These
because
fucking
for
companies
many,
are
they
trying to make
very
money
similar
in
to
some
what you'd
form or
find in a
fashion
casino,
because they
except
don't
this is
have,
marketed to all ages.
right,
Concerns were growing as
advertise
parents started
like
to
the
notice that the games
advertisings
their
that
children were playing
websites
had a
do and
lot
shit
of
like
gambling
that to
mechanics
allow
incorporated
them
into
to
them. This
generate
all
some form
somewhat
of
culminated into the
right
very
money for
infamous
their
moment
next
in which the
project
UK brought
or
forth some gaming
profit.
executives and questioned them about their loot box mechanics, with this EA executive saying that they're not loot boxes, they're just
Yeah, the
surprise
EA stuff, yeah.
mechanics.
Well, first,
Yeah,
we
EA
don't call
got
them
tagged
loot
with this
boxes. I
real
think that
hard.
was
Whatever
the-
term
but-
you wish to apply
yeah,
to them, do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as
Yeah, EA
as
could not
surprise
fight.
mechanics,
You know,
Yeah,
what's
EA
funny
could
to me
not
is
get
that
away from this
these
one.
online casinos, right? They don't call themselves casinos. They call themselves gaming providers. right?
Yes.
Like, oh my God, hey, you make slot machines, right? No, I make games. I am a game developer.
I hate to say it, but that random number generated game that you just made is a soft form of fucking gambling. I hate to say it, but it's true. What do you think RNG is?
This sounds like the same exact mental gymnastics. This was back in 2019, and people thought that finally this gambling plague would leave their games alone, but unfortunately, nothing really happened.
Right,
One of the most
you're
infamous
adding
companies in all this, of course, is
your
EA Games.
RNG
They make so
plus
much
money,
from microtransactions. They
right?
call that
And then
extra
you're trying
content.
to
In
get
2024,
like
they
the
made $4.4 billion
like the
from
right the rarest thing you can get in those packages, or are you trying to get money, right? That's like gambling, dude. You're basically selling your fucking soul.
transactions, and half of it came from FIFA's
Right, and then you
Ultimate
got
Team
people
mode.
who get fucking addicted real easily, like right?
Or sorry,
Like a
EA
drug,
FC
literally.
24, because they
People
lost
get
the FIFA
addicted to the
trademark.
high
The
of
premise
winning.
is simple. You build your own team to play against players. But the way you get the best players is by opening packs and relying fully
Yep.
on luck to get the ones that you want.
I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah, the streamers exasperated the issue too. Because people, well, I mean, people throw their money at at these streamers to do this kind of shit. So, you know, that's what they want to do. Let them do it, right? They're just burning money in a sense.
In
I mean, fucking what? Asmongold does this. All the gacha players do this. All the streamers do this because they know they can recuperate the cost by fucking getting more money from people.
2020, the Dutch court ruled that EA Games has 1 week to make changes to how this mechanic works. Otherwise, they would fine them 500,000 euros a week, up to 10 million euros until they do. Many people saw this as a victory, but EA said, no, we're not going to do that. In fact, we're going to appeal. And 2 years later, that fine got canceled. Nothing's really changed in that regard. Look, one thing was for certain by that point, loot boxes were becoming more and more taboo. As companies became increasingly fearful of costly regulation, they started looking at other monetization mechanics
they're looking
and
at
found
the
inspiration in Fortnite's item shop. You get a bunch of rare items. You could buy them
they
for
start
points,
making
and if you
item
didn't buy
shops
them, then
now.
they disappeared, and you would never know if you could get them again.
The season
Fortnite
passes,
found
right? Instead of doing loot boxes, they do the shop and season pass, right? So that in that term, they can try and make some money without the loot box situation, right? And it's something that they can keep promoting, right, seasonally too, right?
Huge profitability with this business model, as well as their battle pass and other companies.
Yeah, they just instead of the loot box business model, they do the season pass item shop or skin shop model, right? Which is completely different.
Found success with this business model too. Not all of them though. Okay?
Right, you have these two business models.
Not all of them. However, on the other side of the planet, you still had many.
Yeah, or you do the gacha business model, which is much more predatory.
Game companies using a monetization system similar to loot boxes, and it was getting very
and
profitable.
I hate to say
They
it,
were
but
called gacha.
if streamers are telling you, yeah, these gacha games aren't predatory, they're a lying sack of shit. They're bullshitting you. They're lying. They know that it's a deep void of a game.
Games.
Right?
There
This
are
thing's-
so
this
many
thing will
gacha games
rip
out there,
you
most
apart.
of them on mobile, and many of them not even being able to survive for more than a few years before being, well, deleted. You'll always find new releases, and you'll always hear news of old games shutting down. But where the hell did they come from? Well, it's from where all the other good things come from too. Japan.
Yeah.
It originated from the term gachapon, which are these machines here. Let's take the example of this car
Yep,
gachapon machine where you put 300 yen and you're hoping to get your favorite car out of these 5 different cars. The idea here is that you're gambling, but you're gambling on preference, not on money. After putting your money in this machine, you're receiving a car, whether you like it or not. It's just that you might not be
Yeah, it's
getting
like the
one that
pachinko
you
machines,
want.
yeah.
And that's exactly how gacha games work as well.
Yep.
Wikipedia takes this even further and says that games such as Magic the Gathering are actually a type of gacha. This would make Pokemon,
Yeah, Pokemon
Yu-Gi-Oh,
trading,
all those
yeah.
games gacha as well.
Well,
Even
I mean,
though no one
because
really
right, because there's rare cards, there's cards with special abilities, right? Right? There's rarities, yeah. So yeah, it is like gambling.
refers to them that way. Now when you hear gacha, you're thinking of a game, free to play, most likely on mobile, that's either
Yep.
from China, Korea, or Japan. And this is where Genshin
Genshin
Impact came
yep.
in on
That's
September
where all
28th, 2020.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't make Genshin Impact, there were already gacha games that were kind of doing this formula already. So even if the Genshin Impact just became big because everyone was, right, making reviews and, right, hyping it up.
Gacha before Genshin was very niche.
But yeah, this
It was
has
also
already
mostly
been
on
happening.
Mobile. Genshin changed that by not only making it available on PC, but on PS4 as well. More importantly, it was appealing to the mainstream audience and not to a niche audience. So if you liked open world games, it was enough for you to try Genshin. But the thing is, I don't think people quite understand just how much money Genshin makes.
Oh,
Half
yeah.
of its revenue comes from its home country, China. But it's
Yep.
estimated that by 2025, it'll be on track to hit $10 billion in total since release. Some of you watching might be thinking, oh, wait a second, that's not really a lot of money. Well, I don't really blame you. The government throws $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion like it's $5 in your pocket from time
Yeah.
to time, right? So here's a fun little comparison. Ever since Grand Theft Auto 5 released, if you include all their copies sold and all the revenue generated from GTA Online,
Yep.
they've made $8.5
Billion,
billion.
yep.
Do you understand now? Like, are we on the same page? Genshin Impact in 5 years has made more than Grand Theft Auto 5 in over
Yep.
a decade. That's how profitable gacha
I
can be
wonder
for the
why.
top companies. For the first 6
Because the
months
gambling
of 2024,
addiction.
Genshin Impact
Right,
stayed
the way they do their character pool, right, and how if you want to get like the maxed out characters and stuff right like that, right, you gotta pay a lot of money for that stuff. And then if you don't do the paying route, you're basically saving a lot of resources to try and hope to get that. And even then, you're right, you're not even guaranteed it. So it's kind of like, it's either take the chance or
paid their
just buy
top
your
burner,
way to
with
get
Honkai
what you
Star Rail,
want.
another game of theirs, being very close second. So it shows that even though gacha games have low life expectancy,
And based
Genshin
on
was still holding
statistics,
on
there's
quite well. The
statistically
Federal
a
Trade
chance
Commission,
where
of
you
course,
do
will
not
keep
get the
track of
things
these
you want
They're
ever.
constantly looking at the top earners and
It
app
just
stores, whether
happens.
it be Apple's or Google's.
You may get
And their
some
goal
things
as
you
an
want, but you
organization
will
is to
not get
stand up for
everything
the
you want.
American consumer when they're not being bribed, of course. The first thing you see on their website is COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and they were going to use this as a basis to actually file a complaint against Genshin Impact's developer. Which brings us here. United States of America versus Cognosphere. Now, you might be wondering, why Cognosphere? Why not Hoyoverse? That's the game's company. No? Well, it's complicated. Domestically in China, they're still known as MiHoYo.
MiHoYo,
Globally,
yeah.
for partnerships, they're Hoyoverse.
Hoyoverse,
But the
mhm.
parent company that oversees finances and transactions is
Is
Cognosphere,
Cogno, yeah.
based in Singapore, just like Hoyoverse. But for sake of clarity, I'll just say Hoyoverse from now on. This case is split into two
Yeah,
major
because
parts. The
yeah,
first part
basically since these guys, right, since they're a big company, they probably split up their divisions. So they have different division or company names, and then right they're like subdivisions of the company. So yeah.
focusing on the Children's Privacy Protection Act, and the second part focusing on the monetization mechanics used by Genshin Impact. But the thing they start off with, and I find this really funny, they try to explain why Genshin is directed to children under 13, right? They make it a point. Look at this. They argue that Paimon, right, your companion throughout the whole game, and the master
is directed to children under 13. Why did they do this? Why? This is so stupid. What kind of what kind of argument? You're gonna argue that it's because of Paimon? The fuck? Who the fuck wrote this? Could you actually be like serious and actually like be like, hey, it's because kids can start getting addicted psychologically to trying to get these things that sometimes they might not get due to statistics and probability chances.
mascot of the game in the App Store is directed towards children. Some people will definitely agree with this, some others won't. But I can tell you right now, a lot of adults find Paimon annoying, so maybe they're onto something here. I don't know. Like, I'm not so sure here, but I just find it so...
Playing Tash hates Paimon. Yeah, my channel. My Paimon's so annoying. Hey, don't get me wrong. She is kind of annoying.
This for me is where it gets hilarious, okay? They show you an ad where it says Cute Force, where you see 3 characters you can play in the game. Diona, Chi-Chi, and Klee. This to them is similar to children's art, and that these promotional materials are appealing to children because they emphasize the childlike qualities of these heroes.
Who did you pay to write this legal dot? Who did this? It's like, what the fuck? I don't think you're gonna win on these bases, to be honest. If you were actually trying to win, you wouldn't have put this argument in. Fucking brain dead.
But in the gacha sphere, this ad would appeal more to certain adults than children. Okay. But that's all I'll say on the matter, okay? Let's keep going. They allege that Hoyoverse intentionally hired influencers that have an audience of children to advertise the game to. For example, many of these paid influencers won or were finalists for categories related to gaming and online media at the Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Awards. Some of them were big content creators for Minecraft or Roblox. And
I guess that's why they were like, yeah, they're kids because you got people from these communities who are peddling to these people.
They also allege that some internal planning documents used by Hoyoverse made note of whether hired influencers were known for producing Minecraft or Roblox related content. To strengthen this argument, they mention a hide-and-seek minigame that happens once a year in Genshin Impact by the name of Windtrace, and how they hired an influencer by the name of It's Funny to play it on their YouTube channel. You know what? I mean, this does look like Cocomelon, but in Roblox. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. It's the same kind of thumbnail. It does look like a kid's channel. But it's important to note here that there was nothing mentioning any of the gacha mechanics.
I always found those content creators weird. Because they're young people who are making, like, Coco Lemon content, and they're pushing it to kids.
Right? It was just a bunch of friends playing together like you would watch C-nanners playing Prop Hunt, right? Are you guys old enough to understand this reference? God, I hope so. But these things were enough for the FTC to determine that Genshin Impact is directed to children within the meaning of the COPPA rule. Their biggest issue relating to COPPA was Hoyoverse collecting personal information from children without obtaining parental consent.
Yeah. Why the fuck why do content creators want to be close to kids? Why are you pushing content to kids like this? I mean, it's one thing if you're like a father, or right, if you actually have a family, but it's another thing when some of these content creators don't have a family of themselves, right? And they make content for Minecraft, Roblox, and it's just like
They outline how here. It's through their social network. So if you didn't know, Hoyoverse has a social network called Hoyolab where you can share things from all their different games, find resources, and also do a daily check-in that gives you rewards. The FTC argues that in many instances, Hoyoverse has become aware that Hoyolab users are children. Some users have stated or indicated in communications reviewed by Hoyoverse that they were under 13 years old, for example, in social media postings on Hoyolab or in posted photographs, videos, or audio files containing the child's image or voice from which it was apparent that the user was a child. Hoyoverse has in some instances taken limited and insufficient corrective steps when it has discovered a post by a child, such as removing the post in question and muting the user from posting on the Hoyolab social network, but without deleting or seeking verifiable parental.
I think this is why Genshin Impact and right, Hoyoverse had all those issues with these fucking with that bomb threat they had that one time at an event, right? I feel like there's just some fucking crazy ass motherfuckers who need to be put in jail, literally.
Consent for the use or disclosure of other personal information of the child already collected. So this is how they argue that despite them knowing that they had children on their website, they took no steps and therefore collected their personal information
this is so
with no
weird.
issues on their end. And you know what? The FTC is not wrong at all.
I think it was the same thing.
It took me less than 5 minutes to find a minor posting their cosplay on Hoyolab. I'm not going to show the post itself or the person's username.
Like a lot of app creators, video game app creators, like yeah, they get a lot of hate sometimes. So the fact that this kind of company is doing the things they're doing and right, it's
name, but all you gotta know is
it's painting them in a bad light.
Okay, it's in the title and it has over 400 likes, which is viral for Hoyolab. Now, don't get
I mean,
this
I
twisted.
already rag on content creators that just play gacha games all day anyways.
The entire point of COPPA is for them to have protection while doing it. And if Hoyoverse doesn't acknowledge that they're on their platform, then what's stopping someone from following them, interacting with them, and maybe
honestly,
even messaging them
I feel like content creators who just play gacha games all day are just fucking ADHD brain
motherfuckers. The investigation into Genshin Impact has been going on for a while. And when Hoyoverse actually became aware of it in December 2022, they sneakily changed a little section in their privacy policy, saying our services are not marketed to or intended for children. But for the FTC, that means nothing because in their opinion, Hoyoverse has not sought to collect parental consent at any point in time. And then this is where things get interesting. We're talking about monetization, but not just in regards to children, but also in regards to something the FTC calls dark patterns. In this case, the FTC says that Hoyoverse used confusing systems of virtual currency exchanged for loot boxes and deceived people about the low odds of desirable prizes to trick players into spending much more than they meant, making it a dark pattern. So in Genshin Impact, in order to pull for a limited 5-star character, you need a currency called Intertwined Fates. One fate means one pull. To get fates, you need to buy them with primogems.
Yes.
One fate equals 160 primogems. You can earn primogems in-game, but if you want to spend money, you buy Genesis
so this
crystals.
is the dark
you can then
pattern
use the
they're
Genesis
talking
crystals
about.
to convert them to primogems to then use the primogems
right,
to
it's
buy
the
the
process
fates.
of how
But when
you get
buy the
to
Genesis
these
crystals,
things. Right.
You're not told how much they equal in terms of pulls. You have to do math. You have to unfortunately use your brain, take out the calculator, and calculate how much does this mean? If I spend $100, how many pulls do I realistically get? You don't have a straightforward answer in-game, and this is why the FTC is alleging that this is a dark pattern strategy. Additionally, they say that on banners, you see the words probability increase. You also see things like huge drop rate boost on marketing material, which is another dark pattern because it's deceiving. There's no drop rate boost.
Yeah, there's no real there's no real drop rate boost when it comes down to RNG. I mean, they may put in something, but at the end of the day, RNG is RNG, right? It's based on chance. Whether you get it or not is, right, 50-50 in a sense. You get it or you don't get it. That's it.
Except this one's limited for 20 days. This leads us to the next part, in which the FTC says that Hoyoverse had hired influencers specifically to show off these gambling mechanics to make them fun for children.
Yeah.
This is when I would encounter a name I never thought I'd see in 2025, which is SS Sniper Wolf. The FTC says that in May 2021, Hoyoverse hired her and paid her more than $100,000.
Wait, they paid Sniper Wolf? I had no idea about this. Huh. She didn't even play the game that long. And she just... Yeah, oh, that just goes to show.
To record 2 videos promoting Genshin Impact, building upon their narrative that this is a 2-time winner of the Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Awards in the favored gamer category, so her audience has a lot of kids watching. Now here's where it gets really tricky. She was pulling for characters, right? Typically, if you do a 10 pull, you'll always see a purple light if you don't win a 5-star because you're guaranteed to get a 4-star every 10 pulls. If you were to pull for a 5-star, you see a golden light. This is how you know that, oh my god, I just got a 5-star. In Sniper Wolf's video, it's purple, okay? This means that it's a 4-star. There is no, it's impossible that a 5-star is in there. And yet, guys, I'm telling you,
let me guess.
What happens when she
it
gets the
actually
final pull.
cut
Okay,
to
first
be
off,
a...
remember, we pulled 10 wishes, okay? You cannot pull more than 10.
Yeah.
You cannot pull less except for 1 at a time, right? And yet, all of a sudden, you see 11.
Yeah, what? 12.
And, oh, look, this is a 5-star in a purple pull. Wow. Wow, who would have ever thought, dude?
Yikes.
Wow, your RNG is really good, dude. It's so good that it defied game mechanics and is as crazy as someone getting a rare in a CSGO case and it turning out to be a skin worth 2 cents. You know, this is how crazy this is, just so you understand.
Sounds about right.
The FTC alleges here that Hoyoverse are complicit because they got to review this video before it was published.
Yeah.
So they were paying her to do it.
Yeah,
and they still approved this.
Yeah, they still approved it.
You cannot wish for more than 10 times at the same time. And yet here you saw 12. Okay, that was already misleading. And you see a 5-star character appear when the highest one was supposed to be 4 stars. Another dark pattern. Look, part of the reason why many Genshin fans were shocked to find this lawsuit was because when it comes to their gacha mechanics, Genshin are very honest with their odds. You have this massive array of paragraphs that tell you exactly what to expect when you pull and the probability. I saw many people arguing this, saying, dude, who doesn't read this? Like, you have to be an idiot to not read the odds. And yet, the FTC is alleging that these odds are misleading. Look, when you get a 5-star character, you have a coin flip that plays in the background. If you win the coin flip, you get the character that you want, the limited character. If you lose it, you get a character that no one wants, someone from the standard pool. When Genshin Impact says that the base probability of winning a 5-star character is 0.6%, they're being misleading. So what the FTC says is that it should be 0.3%, a 3 in 1,000 chance to get the character that's actually on the limited banner, which is what people are actually pulling for, right? Realistically, no one's pulling for their 6th Diluc or Chi-Chi, right? All these things added up make up this case. The FTC believes that through Genshin Impact, Hoyoverse has failed to protect children's data, has failed to get parental consent, has used dark patterns in its monetization mechanics, and that they have made a conscious effort targeting children in their marketing campaigns. Very shortly after, the community on Twitter caught wind of this, and well, a lot of them had different things to say. PC Gamer published this article saying the
Doro. Obviously Doro. Not to defend the multi-billion-dollar company, but aren't the gacha mechanics explained in game? If you're allowing your kids to spend your money in gacha game, then that's just bad parenting. I'm not sorry. I mean, he's not wrong. Genshin Impact deceived children, teens.
Different things to say. PC Gamer published this article saying the FTC says Genshin Impact deceived children, teens, and other players into spending hundreds of dollars on prizes they stood little chance of winning.
Yeah.
This then led into the...
I mean, just take a look at what happened with, what's Maple Story, right? Ooh, Maple Story went fucking downhill with that one. Yikes, right? About the Maple Story 2, about their loot box on some of their items. They got caught up in some shit.
Biggest tweet of this entire shitstorm, which was made by Doro44, a well-renowned Genshin content creator. Here's what he said. Not to defend the multi-billion-dollar company, but aren't the gacha mechanics explained in game? If you're allowing your kids to spend your money in a gacha game, then that's just bad parenting. I'm not sorry. But I will say, implementing more protective measures so that kids don't go spending money they shouldn't isn't
well, I mean,
a bad
it's
thing.
the fact that
obviously, as you
people,
can tell from
the kids are stealing credit, parents' credit cards sometimes too,
People were very
probably.
divided on this, and while many also tended to agree with him, there was a lot of chaos. What I will say, though, is that PC Gamer knew exactly what they were doing here, okay? This title doesn't really sum up the entire case very well. There would have been way less chaos if they just said, FTC sues Genshin Genshin Impact over Child Safety Protection Act. Like, that's
Yeah,
completely different than what
yeah.
they're saying here. The damage was done, though. This tweet was the ground zero for what erupted on Twitter. This meme right here was being passed around a lot, right? Like, if someone felt that you were siding with Hoyoverse over the FTC, leave alone the multi-million-dollar company. Another content creator siding with Doro was Mr. Pokey, saying, to people that are shitting on Doro, it's not a matter of whether the parents are aware that these are gacha games, but how the hell are your kids getting access to your credit cards? If my mom found out I swiped her credit card when I'm 12, I'd be beaten beyond recognition. Implying that in this case, the consumer needs to face responsibility, not just the company.
Yeah,
with Doro
that's true.
thanking him for sharing his same opinion. On the other hand, you had Braxophone, a well-known guide maker in the Genshin community, saying this to Doro's tweet.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, all
parents'
the
job to
people
parent
talking
kids,
right
but there's
now
no
are
justifiable reason
well-known
for
gacha
gacha to exist in
creators.
the first place other than to disguise gambling as a fun game. We should not normalize gambling up to $300 every
Well,
3
actually,
weeks for
well,
game
the-
content, and especially
the
not to
Poke
children.
Poke
Gacha
is a new one.
predatory. He then goes on to say that the
That
only reason he
recently
plays
popped
gacha
up
games is because they're
because
the
of,
only live service games
Tectone.
that are anime-based that are constantly updated. Bear in mind, this is someone who makes their entire living around gacha, and yet even he couldn't defend this monetization mechanic. Another opinion was not just from a content creator, but someone who has a child. Gotcha Smack is a content creator that makes content on Hoyoverse games in general, and here's what he had to say. Here's my take. The average 35 plus parent in the world has no earthly clue what a gacha game even is. The games also hide their gacha in their descriptions. They don't even disclose a single loot box
Yeah,
in any of
that's
their
true.
advertising, nor do they mention the price
Yeah,
points. The
he's
typical
right on
mom or
that
dad
one.
is going to examine that it's a 12-plus-year-old rating game, examine the description as well as the cartoon visuals, and go, this seems fine.
Yep.
This is deceptive.
Yeah,
and intentional
parents
by the
will-
companies because
Right, some parents will not delve too, right, they won't go in too deep into trying to figure out what is this really okay for my kid. Yeah, they don't do that sometimes. Right, instead they look at the description that's in the right, the description that's in the Apple Store, and right, sometimes those descriptions don't help out very much.
they know parents have no earthly f***ing clue about mobile gaming because most parents don't play games, period, or
Yeah,
understand the industry the way we
exactly.
do. The kid gets addicted and runs into the price points, and how that unfolds is absolutely due to a lack of supervision. Regardless, these companies need to disclose in their marketing and promotions that they are in fact gacha games that contain gambling elements, which falls on a lack of regulation from the government. Parents would see it in the description and say, no shot, my kid is playing this. Long
Notice the
overdue.
word gambling elements. That right, contains gambling elements. You got to put that in there.
Regulation needed. Now, someone did comment that the price points are actually there for the game on the App Store. You can see how much all the bundles cost. But if we're going to be objective here, every single mobile game at this point has the same exact price points for packs.
Exactly.
With the highest one always being $100. So it's not really enough for a parent to understand that there's gambling here. This had become a very heated topic for a while in between content
Even the
creators
gacha
and
games
gacha
before
game players.
Genshin Impact
In the
were
end,
doing
though,
this.
Hoyoverse
So this is
themselves came out
not
with a statement
something
regarding
right,
the
special to
FTC's lawsuit.
Genshin Impact.
They said Cognosphere, the distributor of Genshin Impact, has reached a settlement agreement with the United States Federal Trade Commission to strengthen and increase transparency around our parental consent and virtual currency practices. A statement from Cognosphere is below. Animation-style games and shows are well received by global audiences and players across various ages. Genshin Impact is a popular free-to-play anime-style game designed for older teens and adults. While we believe many of the FTC's allegations are inaccurate, we agreed to the settlement because we value the trust of our community and share a commitment to transparency for our players. Under the agreement, we will introduce a new age gate and parental consent protections for children and young teens and increase our in-game disclosures around virtual currency and rewards for players in the US in the coming months. So in other words, the FTC's lawsuit's bullshit, but hey, listen, we can't be bothered to countersue. Take your $20 million, we'll make that back in a day. And yeah, I guess we'll change some things around in the game. Okay, this is as straightforward as it gets.
I mean, don't get
guys.
me wrong.
$20 million
Like, the FTC allegations are inaccurate. They could have done a way better job, but no, they screwed the pooch on that one. Look, FTC doesn't do a good job on some things, and well, this is one of the things they didn't do a good job on.
for them is child's play. But this hasn't stopped people from comparing Hoyoverse's game mechanics to other games that are operating with no issues. For example, look at the odds that EA games give you for FIFA packs. When you open a premium gold pack, they say that it's a 4.2% chance to get a player gold 84 plus or higher in terms of stats.
There's a 4.2% chance to get
94
gold,
or 96.
gold
Where are
player.
the odds there?
That's
We don't know.
84
Let's
plus.
not forget that even Apex Legends, I know it's a dead game, still has loot boxes as well. And let's not pretend here that children don't use these. And let's not pretend that EA Games actually seeks parental consent.
I mean, just look at CS. Right, CS loot boxes, Team Fortress 2 loot boxes, right? I mean, look, I think TF2 was like the actual first one to do like actual loot boxes in a video game. I think, right? I mean, well, I mean, gotcha games are probably first to do it, but then you had the first like AAA company that started doing it was Valve. So you have Valve to blame for the loot box situation.
This is why many people have shared the opinion that the US government is actually using COPPA, weaponizing it in order to go after companies they don't like, most notably Chinese companies like TikTok and Hoyoverse. But how will this affect Genshin Impact and other Hoyoverse games? Well, as a start, you're probably going to have an option to immediately buy Fates instead of Genesis Crystals to then convert them to Primogems and then buy Fates with them. There's probably going to be an option that's like, yo, buy 20 pulls for this much, buy 30 pulls for this much, among other little changes. So in some ways, yes, this only serves to benefit the consumer. The consumer is not losing anything here. But the question is this, now that we know that the FTC has been working on this complaint for years, who else are they targeting? There are other gacha games out there that compete with Genshin Impact directly, like Wuthering Waves. It's also a Chinese game, but a $20 million fine will severely impact their cash flow. It won't just be a walk in the park like Hoyoverse. So will this stop here, or will it get worse? That's the question on everyone's minds. Look, one thing is for certain in the end, gacha loves American money. But let's see how far they'll comply with this. And let's see if the FTC will seek to go after other, more predatory video game companies in the future. For now though, that's pretty much it. If you watched till the end, I love you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, I mean,
that is. Mwah.
Yeah, the UK, right? Yeah, you saw it with EA. I mean, it just goes to show you how deep it goes. But I mean, I hate to say it, but you have content creators to blame for some of this shit too, right? Because they are being paid by the company to promote the game, to do this, right? To do loot boxes and shit, right? Content creators basically get free pulls, in a sense, because they're getting primo gems or whatever deal they're getting in their contract with the company, right? And then there's the content creator codes that they do sometimes, right? But yeah, I mean that's right. That's the market. That is the market. Do I agree with it? No, but that's what it is. Do I agree with some of the content creators that do what they do? No, but they're free to do whatever they want.